Chloe Davis stared at the silver knife in her hand, but she wasn't using it to prep dinner. She was holding it to the throat of Jae-hyun, the most feared mafia leader in Asia. 10 minutes ago, she was a prisoner in his high-rise kitchen. Now, she was the only thing standing between the king and a coup. But as Jae-hyun leaned into the cold steel of the blade, a terrifying smile spread across his lips. Chloe realized the rumors were true. The king did not fear death. He only feared losing the woman he had spent millions to cage, 3 months earlier. The eviction notice was taped to Chloe's door when she got home from her double shift at the diner. Red letters, 72 hours to vacate. She ripped it down and unlocked her studio apartment with hands that had stopped shaking months ago. You got numb to crisis after a while. Inside, she dropped her bag and sank onto the futon that doubled as her couch. The springs groaned. Everything in this place groaned. The pipes, the floorboards, the neighbors through walls thin as paper. Brooklyn wasn't supposed to look like this when she'd dreamed about it in culinary school. She'd imagined a small but charming apartment. A kitchen where she'd test recipes after working her way up in some acclaimed restaurant. Maybe a balcony with herbs growing in mismatched pots. Instead, she had 400 square feet of water damage and cockroaches that didn't fear her anymore. Her phone buzzed. Text from her manager at the diner. "Can you cover Maria's shift tomorrow?" 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. Chloe closed her eyes. That would be her third double this week. Her feet already had blisters on top of blisters. She typed back, "How much?" Same rate, $11 an hour plus tips, $11 an hour. She had a degree from the Culinary Institute of America, and she was slinging eggs for $11 an hour. "I'll be there," she sent back. Because what choice did she have? She opened her banking app. $218. Rent was $1,200. Due yesterday. Her landlord had stopped accepting excuses 2 months ago. Chloe pulled herself off the futon and walked to the narrow counter that served as her kitchen. She'd bought vegetables 3 days ago, planning to make something decent for herself. They'd already started wilting in the heat. Her AC had died in July, and it was only September. She should cook them before they went bad completely. But the exhaustion was bone deep, the kind that made even small tasks feel impossible. She opened the cabinet instead. 1 packet of ramen left. She filled a pot with water and set it on the hot plate. Her stove had stopped working 6 months ago, and the landlord said fixing it wasn't his problem. While the water heated, she sat on the floor and let her head fall back against the wall. 4 years of culinary school, $60,000 in student loans, internships at 3 Michelin-starred restaurants. And this is where it had led. She thought about Chef Moreau's kitchen, how she'd worked for free for 3 weeks, arriving before dawn to prep, staying past midnight to clean, how she'd perfected every task they gave her, believing that excellence would be enough. The last day, Chef Moreau had called her into his office. She'd thought it was a job offer. "You have skill, Chloe," he'd said, not quite meeting her eyes. "Good instincts, but our front of house is very particular about aesthetics. Image matters in fine dining. You understand." She'd understood perfectly. She was too fat, too black, too visible in a kitchen that wanted its staff to blend into expensive white walls. He'd given her a business card for a corporate catering company, patted her shoulder, told her she'd do well there. She'd cried in the subway on the way home. The water boiled over, hissing on the hot plate. Chloe pushed herself up and turned it off. She wasn't even hungry anymore. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Probably a debt collector. She had 4 different collections agencies calling her about the credit cards she'd maxed out trying to survive between restaurant jobs that never materialized. She let it ring. It stopped. Then immediately started again. Same number. Persistent. Chloe answered. "Hello? Is this Chloe Davis?" A woman's voice. Professional. The kind of crisp pronunciation that came from expensive schools. "Who's asking?" "My name is Mincio Park. I'm a private recruiter. Your portfolio was referred to me by someone who worked with you at Le Bernardin. Do you have a moment to discuss an opportunity? Chloe's heart jumped. Le Bernardin was 2 years ago, a 3-month internship where she'd barely interacted with the head chef. What kind of opportunity? A private client is seeking a personal chef. The position includes full relocation, housing, benefits, and a competitive salary. Are you currently employed? Chloe looked around her apartment. The cracked ceiling, the eviction notice on the counter. I'm working, but I'm open to new opportunities. Excellent. Can you meet tomorrow at 2 p.m.? The address is 432 Park Avenue, Suite 6300. Park Avenue. That was the kind of address that appeared in magazines Chloe couldn't afford. Can I ask who the client is? All details will be discussed during the interview. I'll need to know now if you're available. Every instinct told Chloe this was strange. People didn't just call out of nowhere offering jobs, not real ones. But $218 wasn't going to last 72 hours. I'll be there. Perfect. Bring your portfolio and references. Dress professionally. The call ended. Chloe stood in her tiny kitchen, holding a phone that felt suddenly heavy. This was either the break she'd been praying for or a trap. But when you were already drowning, you grabbed anything that looked like it might float. The next day, Chloe wore the only professional outfit she owned. A black blazer and slacks she'd bought for interviews 3 years ago. The blazer was tight across her shoulders now. The slacks had a small stain on one leg she'd tried to scrub out that morning. It was the best she had. The building on Park Avenue made her feel small before she even walked inside. All glass and steel, reaching up into the sky like a middle finger to gravity. People in $1,000 suits moved through the lobby like they owned the air itself. Chloe checked in with security. They scanned her ID, made a call, handed her a visitor badge. 63rd floor. The elevator was glass-walled. As it rose, the city shrank below. Chloe watched the buildings get smaller, trying to calm her racing heart. The doors opened to a reception area that looked like it had been designed by someone who hated warmth. Everything was white marble and chrome. A woman sat behind a desk that probably cost more than Chloe's student loans. Chloe Davis for Mincio Park. The receptionist smiled without warmth. She's expecting you, through those doors. Chloe walked down a hallway lined with abstract art she didn't understand. At the end, a door stood open. Inside, a woman waited. Mincio Park looked like she'd been assembled in a lab designed to create intimidation. Tall, slim, wearing a charcoal suit that fit like it had been made on her body. Her hair was pulled back so severely it looked painful. She was maybe 40, maybe ageless. Miss Davis, sit. The office had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Central Park. The view probably cost more per month than Chloe made in a year. Chloe sat in a chair that felt too expensive to touch. Mincio remained standing, hands clasped behind her back. She studied Chloe like she was examining produce for bruises. Before we begin, you'll need to sign a non-disclosure agreement. Everything discussed in this room remains confidential. Violation will result in immediate legal action. Do you understand? I understand, but I'd like to know what I'm signing before. You're signing an agreement to keep your mouth shut about a job you haven't been offered yet. If that's a problem, the door is behind you. The words were delivered without emotion, a simple statement of fact. Chloe thought about the eviction notice, the diner shifts that paid $11 an hour, the ramen she'd eaten for dinner last night because it was all she could afford. Where do I sign? Mincio slid a document across the desk. It was 20 pages of legal language that would take an hour to read properly. Chloe signed the last page. Good. Mincio finally sat, folding her hands on the desk. The client I represent is extremely private, wealthy beyond what most people can conceptualize. He requires a personal chef to manage all meals in his primary residence. Where is the residence? Seoul, South Korea. The answer hit Chloe like cold water. South Korea? The position requires immediate relocation. All moving expenses covered. You'll be provided housing, full health benefits, and a starting salary of $200,000 per year. Chloe's brain stuttered on the number. 200,000 US dollars. The contract is for 1 year, renewable based on performance. You'll be responsible for 3 meals daily, occasional entertaining, and maintaining complete discretion about your employer's private life. $200,000. Chloe tried to keep her face neutral, but her hands started shaking. Why me? I've been out of fine dining for over a year. There are chefs with better credentials. My client doesn't want credentials. He wants someone who can cook, who understands the value of silence, and who has nothing tying them to their current location. Min Seo tilted her head slightly. You fit all 3 requirements. The way she said it made Chloe feel transparent. Like this woman had looked into every corner of her life and found it wanting. I don't speak Korean. Language isn't a requirement. You'll have a translator if needed, though my client speaks English fluently. What kind of food does he want? That will be discussed if you're selected. For now, I need to know, are you interested in being considered? Chloe's mouth was dry. Can I ask what kind of person needs a chef who will relocate to another country? The kind who values privacy above all else. Min Seo's expression didn't change. I'll be direct, Miss Davis. My client is not an easy man. He has specific requirements. He doesn't tolerate mistakes. The last chef lasted 3 months before requesting release from their contract. What happened? They couldn't handle the isolation. Living in service to someone else's schedule, someone else's needs. It's not a position for people who need social interaction or personal freedom. Chloe thought about her apartment. The friends who'd stopped calling when she couldn't afford to go out anymore. The family that had written her off years ago. Isolation doesn't scare me. Min Seo studied her for a long moment. You'll have my answer by tomorrow morning. If selected, you'll leave for Seoul within 1 week. Pack light. Everything you need will be provided. The meeting was over. Chloe stood on shaking legs. Thank you for the opportunity. Don't thank me yet, Miss Davis. You haven't met him. The way she said him made Chloe's skin prickle. That night, Chloe couldn't sleep. She lay on her futon, staring at the ceiling, mind racing through every possibility. $200,000. It could erase her debt, give her breathing room, let her actually live instead of just surviving. But Seoul, a country where she didn't speak the language, working for a man so private he required NDAs just to interview his potential employees. Red flags everywhere. Still. Her phone buzzed at 3 a.m., unknown number. She answered. Miss Davis, this is Min Seo Park. You've been selected. A car will arrive at your address Friday morning at 6 a.m. to transport you to JFK. Bring only personal items, clothing, toiletries, anything sentimental. Everything else will be provided. Do you accept? Chloe sat up in the dark. Friday was 4 days away. I accept. Good. Check your email. You'll find a contract, travel documents, and instructions. Sign and return the contract by tomorrow evening. Don't be late Friday. The call ended. Chloe opened her email. The contract was there. 53 pages. She started reading. By dawn, she'd read it twice. The salary was real. The benefits were real. But buried in the legal language were clauses that made her stomach tight. Employee agrees to maintain absolute discretion regarding employer's identity, business dealings, and personal life. Employee acknowledges that employer's work may require irregular hours and last-minute schedule changes. Employee agrees that termination of contract may occur without notice at employer's sole discretion. Employee waives right to legal action in case of early termination. It was a golden cage with the door welded shut. But $200,000. Chloe signed it. 4 days later. The car that picked her up was a black sedan with windows tinted so dark she couldn't see inside until the driver opened the door. He was professional, silent, and took her 2 suitcases without comment. Everything she owned fit in 2 suitcases. The driver took her to JFK and walked her to a private terminal she didn't know existed. No TSA line, no crowds. Just a woman in a crisp uniform who checked her passport and led her onto a plane. First class. Chloe had never flown first class, had barely flown at all. The seat was wider than her futon. The flight attendant offered her champagne before they took off. She accepted, mostly because she didn't know what else to do. 14 hours to Seoul. She tried to sleep but couldn't. Her mind wouldn't stop spinning through questions she had no answers for. Who was she working for? Why did he need this much privacy? What had happened to the last chef? The flight attendant brought her lunch. Actual food, not airplane food. Perfectly cooked salmon with vegetables that still had texture. "Is everything satisfactory, Miss Davis?" the attendant asked. The fact that she knew Chloe's name felt strange. "It's perfect." "Wonderful. Please let me know if you need anything at all." The attention felt wrong. Like she was being treated as important when she knew she wasn't. She was just a chef. A broke chef running away from an eviction notice. When the plane landed in Seoul, the same silent efficiency continued. Immigration was handled privately. Her bags appeared without her having to claim them. A different driver waited with her name on a card. She followed him to another black sedan. Seoul at night was neon and noise. Signs in Korean she couldn't read. Streets packed with people even though it was nearly midnight. The city felt alive in a way Brooklyn never had, like it was vibrating on a frequency just slightly too high for comfort. The car drove for 40 minutes, leaving the dense city center behind. The buildings spread out, got larger, more isolated. They turned onto a private road that wound up into hills. A gate appeared, all black metal and security cameras. It opened automatically. The car climbed higher. And then the house appeared. House was the wrong word. It was a fortress made of black glass and sharp angles, built into the hillside like it had grown there. Modern architecture that looked like it was designed to intimidate. Every window was dark. The car stopped at the entrance. The driver opened her door. A woman waited at the top of the steps. Young, maybe mid-20s, wearing a plain black uniform. Her expression was neutral to the point of being mask-like. "Miss Davis, I'm Soo-jin. I manage the household staff. Please follow me." Chloe climbed the steps, her suitcases already being carried inside by someone she hadn't seen. The interior matched the exterior. Cold, expensive, empty. Black marble floors, white walls, furniture that looked like it had never been sat on. "I'll show you to your quarters," Soo-jin said, already walking. "You have a private suite on the 2nd floor. The kitchen is on the main level. Your schedule will be provided each evening for the following day." "When do I meet my employer?" Soo-jin didn't slow down. "When he wishes to meet you." They climbed a floating staircase to the 2nd floor. Soo-jin opened a door at the end of the hall. The room beyond was larger than Chloe's entire Brooklyn apartment. A king bed, a sitting area. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city sprawling below like a constellation. An attached bathroom with marble everywhere. "Unpack and rest," Soo-jin said. "Your first service is breakfast tomorrow at 7 a.m. The menu will be in the kitchen. Do not be late." "What is he like?" "You'll learn." Soo-jin turned to leave, then paused. "One more thing, Miss Davis. Mr. Kwon values precision above all else. Every dish must be perfect. Every meal must be on time. Mistakes are not forgotten." "Mr. Kwon?" But Soo-jin was already gone, the door closing with a soft click. Chloe stood alone in the expensive silence. Mr. Kwon. She pulled out her phone and searched the name. Thousands of results appeared. But when she clicked on them, they were all different people. Politicians, actors, business executives, no one that matched a man who'd pay $200,000 for a private chef. She tried adding soul and private to the search. Nothing. Whoever he was, he'd scrubbed himself from the internet. Chloe sat on the edge of the bed, exhaustion finally catching up to her. She'd signed a contract, flown across the world, accepted money she desperately needed, and she had no idea who she was working for. The next morning, Chloe woke at 5 a.m. to an alarm she didn't remember setting. Jet lag made her feel like she was moving underwater, but she dragged herself out of bed and into the bathroom. The shower had 7 different settings and water pressure that felt like a massage. Expensive shampoo and soap were already stocked. Everything in this place anticipated needs before they were spoken. It should have felt nice. Instead, it felt like being studied. She dressed in the chef's whites that had been left on the chair, perfectly tailored to her measurements, and made her way downstairs. The kitchen was professional grade, 6-burner range, double oven, a knife set that probably cost more than her culinary school tuition. Ingredients were labeled in Korean with small English translations underneath. A single card sat on the counter. Breakfast, 7 a.m., American-style pancakes, scrambled eggs, soft turkey bacon, crispy fresh fruit coffee, black simple, almost suspiciously simple. Chloe got to work. She made the pancakes from scratch. Buttermilk, real vanilla, a touch of cinnamon. Cooked them until they were golden and fluffy. The eggs she scrambled low and slow with butter and cream until they were just set. The bacon she cooked until it shattered. She arranged everything on expensive white plates and set them on the dining table at exactly 7 a.m. Then she waited in the kitchen. 7 o'clock came and went. 7:15, 7:30. At 7:45, Soo-jin appeared. She examined the table, then looked at Chloe. The employer sends his compliments. You're dismissed. He's not going to... But Soo-jin was already removing the plates, food untouched. Chloe watched her perfect breakfast disappear. Did I do something wrong? The employer reviews all meals before deciding whether to consume them. This is standard procedure. So he just looks at the food? Mr. Kwon has very specific requirements. You'll learn them. Soo-jin carried the plates away, leaving Chloe alone in the kitchen. She'd cooked for a ghost. Day 2. The menu card for lunch appeared at noon. Lunch, 1 p.m. bibimbap, traditional preparation gochujang on the side. Chloe stared at it. She'd made bibimbap exactly 3 times in culinary school, 2 years ago. She pulled up recipes on her phone, studied techniques, and prepped vegetables with obsessive precision. Julienned carrots, blanched spinach, sautéed mushrooms. The beef she marinated and cooked until it was tender. She arranged it in the stone bowl traditionally. Rice at the bottom, vegetables in sections, egg fried perfectly on top. Set it on the table at exactly 1 p.m. Waited. At 1:30, Soo-jin appeared. The employer says the egg was overcooked by 15 seconds. Chloe's hands clenched. 15 seconds? Yes, dismissed. The plate vanished. Chloe stood in the kitchen, furious. 15 seconds. On an egg she'd watched like a hawk. He was testing her, seeing how much criticism she'd accept. She grabbed the menu card for dinner. Dinner, 8 p.m., surprise me. No specifications, no restrictions, fine. She'd surprise him. Day 3. Breakfast, 7 a.m., the same as yesterday. Chloe made it exactly the same. Same recipe, same timing, same plating. Soo-jin removed it untouched. The employer says it was adequate. Adequate. Yes. Chloe felt her jaw tighten. Yesterday it was worthy of compliments. Today it was adequate. Because he could. Because this was his house. His rules. His game. Day 4. Lunch, 1 p.m. pasta carbonara. Your interpretation. Your interpretation. Like it was a test. It was a test. Chloe made it traditionally. Guanciale, pecorino, eggs, black pepper. Nothing else. The way Romans had made it for generations. She knew the moment Sujin removed it what the feedback would be. The employer says it was technically correct but lacked creativity. It's carbonara. It doesn't need creativity. It needs respect for tradition. The employer disagrees. The plate disappeared. Chloe wanted to scream. Day 5. She made breakfast. It vanished. She made lunch. It vanished. She made dinner, a Korean-French fusion dish that took her 4 hours. Sujin appeared 30 minutes after she'd plated it. The employer requests you join him for dinner. Now. Chloe's heart stopped. What? You heard me. Follow me. Sujin led her back to the dining room. The lights had been dimmed. Candles burned on the table. When had those appeared? Music played softly, something classical Chloe didn't recognize. And at the head of the table sat a man. He stood as she entered. Jae-hyun Kwon was not what she expected. Young, maybe early 30s. Tall and lean, wearing a black suit that probably cost more than her entire year's salary. His face was all sharp angles and dark eyes that tracked her movement like a predator watching prey. Beautiful in a way that felt dangerous. Miss Davis. His voice was deep, accented, cold. Sit. It wasn't a request. Chloe sat across from him, heart hammering. He sat as well, studying her with an intensity that made her want to look away. She forced herself to meet his eyes. You've been cooking for me for 5 days, he said. This is the first meal worth eating in my presence. The others weren't good enough? They were competent. Competence doesn't interest me. He gestured to the plate between them. This interests me. Tell me why you chose this dish. You asked me to surprise you 3 days ago. I wanted to show I could merge techniques. Korean flavors with French execution. You waited 3 days to deliver. I needed to understand what you wanted first. His eyes narrowed slightly. And what do I want? Control. You want to know I'll follow your rules, your timing, your specifications, but you also want to know I can think independently when you give me the freedom to. She held his gaze. So I followed your rules for 4 days. Then I broke them on my terms. Something flickered in his expression. He picked up his fork and knife, cut into the short rib. It fell apart perfectly. He took a bite, chewed slowly. His face revealed nothing. The silence stretched until Chloe wanted to scream. It's perfect, he finally said. Not good. Perfect. Thank you. Don't thank me. You earned the compliment. He took another bite. You went to the Culinary Institute of America, graduated top 15% of your class, interned at Le Bernardin, Maria, and Daniel, received job offers from none of them. Chloe's blood went cold. How do you know that? I know everything about you, Miss Davis. Your debt, $63,000 in student loans, $18,000 in credit cards. Your eviction, landlord filed papers 4 months ago. Your mother, living in Queens, hasn't spoken to you in 4 years. Your last relationship ended 2 years ago when he told you to lose weight if you wanted to keep him. Each word was a scalpel. Precise. Cutting. You had no right. I had every right. You signed a contract to work in my home. I don't allow strangers into my life without knowing everything about them. He set down his fork. I know you were 3 days from being homeless when Minseo called. I know you would have taken any job that offered escape. I know you're here because you were desperate, not because you wanted to be. If you know all that, why hire me? Because desperate people don't ask questions. They accept what they're given and make it work. That's exactly what I need. The honesty was more brutal than any lie. I'm not your charity case. No, you're my employee, and you'll stay my employee as long as you follow the rules. Cook what I tell you to cook. When I tell you to cook it. How I tell you to cook it. And in return, you'll be paid more than you'd make in 5 years anywhere else. And if I refuse? Then you breach contract. I keep the advance payment you already spent paying off your credit cards, and you go back to Brooklyn with nothing. What advance payment? I haven't been paid yet. He pulled out his phone, showed her a banking statement. Her banking statement. Showing a deposit of $25,000. 3 days ago. I paid off your credit cards the day you signed the contract. As a signing bonus. You didn't notice because you were too busy packing. He pocketed the phone. That money is yours if you complete the year. If you don't, it's a loan. With interest. 20%. That's predatory. That's business. And business is how I've built everything you see. He stood. Finish your dinner. Tomorrow's breakfast menu is already in the kitchen. 7 a.m. Don't be late. He walked to the door. Why did you really hire me? Chloe asked. He paused. Didn't turn around. Because you're talented, desperate, and completely alone. That makes you controllable. And I only allow controlled variables into my life. He looked back over his shoulder. Welcome to Seoul, Miss Davis. I hope you survive it. Still here. Good. Because it's about to get wild. Quick like and subscribe if you're enjoying this. It really helps. He left. Chloe sat alone at the table, staring at food that suddenly tasted like ash. He owned her. Not just through the contract. Through the money she'd already spent. Through knowledge of every failure, every weakness, every desperate moment that had led her here. She was trapped. And he knew it. Week 2. The routine became suffocating. Chloe cooked 3 meals a day, each one judged by impossible standards. Each criticism delivered through Soo-jin like Jae-hyun couldn't be bothered to speak to her directly. The soup was oversalted. The fish was overcooked by 20 seconds. The presentation was pedestrian. Never good enough. Never perfect. Except when it was. And then silence. No praise. Just the absence of criticism. Chloe started testing boundaries. She made the breakfast eggs slightly differently. Added a herb he hadn't requested. Soo-jin appeared. The employer asks that you follow the menu exactly. No deviations. Fine. She made lunch exactly as specified, but plated it differently. More artistic. Soo-jin appeared. The employer requires traditional plating. This is not a gallery. Fine. She made dinner exactly as specified, exactly as plated in the reference photos he'd left. Soo-jin didn't appear. The meal vanished without comment. Message received. There was no room for interpretation. Only obedience. Chloe lay in her luxurious prison that night and stared at the ceiling. $200,000. She just had to last 1 year. 52 weeks. 365 days. She could do this. She had to. Week 3. Jae-hyun appeared in the kitchen one morning while she was prepping lunch. She nearly dropped the knife. Mr. Kwon. Continue working. I'm observing. He pulled out a stool and sat at the counter. Watching. Just watching. Chloe's hands shook as she julienned vegetables. She felt his eyes on every movement, every cut, every motion. Your knife skills are adequate, he said after 10 minutes. Thank you. That wasn't a compliment. Adequate means sufficient, not exceptional. You were trained by exceptional chefs. Why are you performing at an adequate level? Because I'm nervous. Why? Because you're watching me. I'm always watching you, Miss Davis. There are cameras in this kitchen, in every room of this house except your bedroom and bathroom. I watch everything you do, every meal, every moment. This is just the first time you've seen me do it. The words made her skin crawl. That's invasive. That's security. I need to know what happens in my home at all times. He stood, moved closer. Show me how you were taught to butcher a chicken. What? There's a whole chicken in the refrigerator. Show me. It wasn't a request. Chloe retrieved the chicken, set up her station, and butchered it the way she'd been taught. Precise cuts, clean separation, minimal waste. Jae-hyun watched every movement. Faster. What? You're taking too long. Speed matters. In a professional kitchen, you'd be fired for that pace. I'm being precise. You're being timid. There's a difference. He moved behind her, close enough that she could feel his body heat. Again. Faster this time. There's no other chicken. He reached past her and set another chicken on the counter. When had he brought that in? Again. She butchered the second chicken. Faster. Her cuts less precise, more practical. Better. Again. I don't have... A third chicken appeared. Again. By the fifth chicken, her hands were cramping. By the seventh, she was moving on autopilot. By the 10th, she couldn't feel her fingers. Enough. He examined the butchered chickens. The last 3 were acceptable. The first 7 were waste. You'll use the acceptable ones for tonight's dinner. The others go to staff meals. He walked toward the door. Why did you make me do that? Chloe asked. Because you're capable of more than you're showing. Fear is making you small. Small doesn't interest me. He paused at the doorway. Tomorrow, I want to see what you can do when you're not afraid of making mistakes. And if I make mistakes, then you'll learn from them. That's why I hired a chef with potential instead of one with perfection. Perfection is static. Potential can be shaped. He left. Chloe stared at the 10 butchered chickens, her hands shaking, her mind reeling. He was training her, not just hiring her, training her, shaping her into something. She didn't know if that was better or worse than simple employment. Week 4. Jae-hyun started appearing more frequently. Not every day, but often enough that Chloe stopped being startled. He'd sit at the counter, watch her work, make observations that were never quite criticism but never quite praise. Your timing on the rice is improving. The sauce has better depth than last week. You're anticipating the menu requirements now instead of reacting to them. Progress measured in tiny increments. And then he'd say something like, Your mother called your old landlord last week. Asked if he'd heard from you. Chloe's hands stilled. How do you know that? I monitor things that might affect my household. Your mother looking for you could become a problem if she decides to file a missing person report. I'm not missing. You disappeared to another country without telling anyone. That's the definition of missing. He pulled out his phone. I had my people reach out to her. Explained you'd accepted a position abroad. She seemed relieved. You contacted my mother? I had someone contact her. I don't do that personally. He pocketed the phone. She asked if you were safe. My people assured her you were. She didn't ask anything else. Didn't request contact information. Just accepted it. The words landed like stones. She didn't ask to talk to me? No. Chloe turned back to her prep work, hands moving automatically while her mind spun. Her mother hadn't asked to speak to her. Hadn't asked for a number or an email. Just accepted that Chloe was gone. Why are you telling me this? She asked. Because I need you to understand your reality. You have no one looking for you. No one waiting for you to come home. This job, this house, this life, it's all you have. The sooner you accept that, the sooner you stop looking for exits that don't exist. He was right, and that made it worse. Week 5. Chloe made a mistake. The fish was overcooked. Not by seconds, by minutes. She'd been distracted thinking about her mother and hadn't watched the pan. Soojin appeared. The employer requests your presence in the dining room. Chloe's stomach dropped. This was it. The mistake that would cost her everything. She followed Soojin to the dining room. Jae-hyun sat at the table, the overcooked fish in front of him. Sit. She sat. Tell me what went wrong. I wasn't paying attention. I was distracted. It won't happen again. Why were you distracted? Personal reasons. There are no personal reasons in my kitchen. Everything that affects your performance is my business. His eyes were cold. Tell me. I was thinking about my mother, about the fact that she didn't ask about me. He leaned back, studied her. And that distracted you enough to ruin a dish? Yes. Interesting. He picked up his fork, cut into the fish, took a bite, chewed, swallowed. It's inedible. I know. And yet you served it anyway. I realized the mistake too late. I didn't have time to start over. Then you should have come to me and said there would be no dinner. That would have been honest. Instead, you served me garbage and hoped I wouldn't notice. He set down his fork. Do you know what I do to people who lie to me? No. I eliminate them from my life. Completely. Permanently. He stood. You have one more chance, Miss Davis. One. The next mistake, the next lie, the next moment of distraction that results in failure, and you're done. Do you understand? Yes. Good. Now go make me something edible. You have 30 minutes. She ran back to the kitchen, made a simple pasta aglio e olio, perfectly cooked, proper seasoning, done in 28 minutes. Sujin appeared, took the plate, returned 5 minutes later. The employer says it was acceptable. Acceptable. Not good. Not perfect. Acceptable. But she'd kept her job. Barely. Week 6. Sujin appeared in the kitchen one morning with a different kind of instruction. Mr. Kwan is hosting a charity event here in 3 days. 200 guests. You'll be responsible for the catering. Full menu. 5 courses. Plated service. Chloe's blood went cold. 200 people? I can't do that alone. You'll have a team, 12 staff. But you're the head chef. The menu is your responsibility. Mr. Kwan will review your proposal tomorrow morning. That's not enough time. Then you should start planning now. He expects excellence. Sujin handed her a folder. Guest list, dietary restrictions, allergies. Budget is unlimited. Failure is not acceptable. She left. Chloe opened the folder. 200 names, politicians, business executives, celebrities, people whose net worth had more zeros than she could process. And she was supposed to feed them all. In 3 days. She spent 18 hours that day planning. Korean-French fusion, 5 courses, each one designed to impress, to show what she could do when given the freedom to create. The next morning, she presented the menu to Jae-hyun in his office. He read it in silence. The second course is too safe. Change it. To what? Something that takes risk. These guests eat at Michelin restaurants weekly. Safe doesn't impress them. If I take too much risk and they don't like it, then you fail. But you'll fail trying for greatness instead of settling for safety. Which would you prefer? She rewrote the second course. Something experimental, scary, potentially brilliant, or a complete disaster. Showed him again. Better. Approved. 3 days. Don't disappoint me. The day of the event. The house had been transformed. The dining room opened into a ballroom Chloe hadn't known existed. Tables set with precision. Lighting designed to impress. And press. Actual press. Photographers. A journalist from Korea's most prestigious food magazine. Chloe's team had arrived that morning. 12 professionals who looked at her with skepticism. This unknown American was running their kitchen? She'd won them over by 2 p.m. through sheer competence and refusal to tolerate anything less than perfection. By 6 p.m., they were a machine. By 7 p.m., when the first guests arrived, Chloe was in the zone. That flow state where everything else disappeared and only the food mattered. She didn't see the guests. Didn't hear the conversations. Just cooked. First course, amuse-bouche. 30 seconds to plate, perfect execution. Second course, the risky one, deconstructed bibimbap with French techniques. She held her breath as the servers left the kitchen. 15 minutes later, Soo-jin appeared. The guests are impressed. Continue. Third course, fourth course, fifth course, each one executed perfectly. By 10 p.m., it was done. Chloe's team was cleaning up. She was exhausted, hands cramping, feet screaming. Soo-jin appeared. Mr. Kwon requests you join the guests, briefly, to accept compliments. I'm not dressed for now, Miss Davis. Chloe followed her out of the kitchen into the ballroom. 200 people in evening wear. Conversations pausing as she entered in her chef's whites, covered in kitchen debris. Jae-hyun was talking to a group of men in expensive suits. He saw her, gestured her over. Gentlemen, this is Chef Chloe Davis, the artist responsible for tonight's meal. The men studied her. One of them, older, distinguished, smiled in a way that made Chloe's skin crawl. An American chef in a Korean household. How progressive of you, Kwon. His eyes raked over her. Though I suppose when hiring help, one shouldn't be too particular about appearances. The food was good, at least. The words landed like a slap. The room went quiet. Chloe opened her mouth to respond. Jae-hyun moved. Not obviously, not violently. Just shifted his body language in a way that made the older man take a step back. What did you just say? Jae-hyun's voice was soft, deadly. I merely meant, you meant that my chef's appearance matters more than her skill. That being American makes her less qualified. That her body is relevant to her ability to create art. Each word was ice. Is that correct? Kwon, I didn't mean to offend. You didn't offend me. You offended her. In my house, at my event. After she spent 18 hours creating food that your uncultured palate clearly couldn't appreciate. Jae-hyun stepped closer. Apologize. This is unnecessary. Apologize or leave. And if you leave, every business relationship between us ends. Permanently. Your choice. The room was silent. Everyone watching. The older man's face went red, then pale. My apologies, Miss Davis. I spoke thoughtlessly. Accepted, Chloe said, her voice steady despite her hammering heart. Jae-hyun didn't move, didn't break eye contact with the man. Leave. But you said, I said apologize or leave. You apologized. Now leave anyway. I don't want you in my home. The man left. Quickly. Like he'd been released from a trap. Jae-hyun turned to the room. If anyone else has comments about my staff's appearance rather than their abilities, I invite you to join him. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of the evening. He walked away. Conversations resumed. Cautiously. Chloe stood frozen, her mind spinning. He'd defended her, publicly, destroyed a business relationship for her. Why? Soo-jin appeared at her elbow. You should return to the kitchen. Chloe went. Numbly. Spent the rest of the evening cleaning while her mind replayed that moment over and over. 3 days after the event. Soo-jin appeared in the kitchen while Chloe was prepping lunch. Mr. Kwon requests you join him for dinner tonight. 8 p.m. The dining room. Chloe's hands stilled on the knife. Why? He didn't say, be ready at 8. She left. Chloe stood there, mind racing. He'd never invited her to dinner after that first time. 6 weeks of cooking for a ghost. And now, 3 days after he'd publicly destroyed a business relationship defending her, he wanted to have dinner. This was about the event. Had to be. Maybe he regretted it. Maybe he was going to explain that defending her had been strategic, not personal. Maybe he was going to set boundaries so she didn't get the wrong idea. Whatever it was, she'd find out at 8. 8 p.m. The dining room had been transformed again. Not as elaborate as the event, but intentional. Candles. Undimmed lighting. 2 place settings. Jae-hyun was already there when she arrived, standing by the window in a black suit, staring out at Seoul's lights. He turned when she entered. "Miss Davis, sit." She sat. He sat across from her. The table felt smaller than usual, more intimate. "You made short rib," he said, gesturing to the plates between them. "You requested it in the menu card." "I requested it because it was the first dish you made that impressed me, the one that earned you a place at this table." He picked up his wine glass. "When had that been filled?" "I thought it appropriate." Chloe didn't know what to say to that. They began eating in silence. The tension was suffocating, every clink of silverware too loud, every swallow too deliberate. Finally, Chloe couldn't take it anymore. "Why did you invite me to dinner?" "Because I wanted to." "That's not an answer." "It's the only answer you're getting." He took another bite. Still perfect, his expression said without words. "How did you find working the event?" "Challenging. Rewarding. The journalist from Seoul Dining Magazine wrote about you. Called you a revelation in Korean fusion cuisine." "I didn't know that." "Because I didn't tell you. Good press can make a chef complacent. I don't want you complacent." He set down his fork. "But I wanted you to know your work was recognized, beyond just my table." Was this his apology? Not for the incident, but for the aftermath? For making her visible? "The man you embarrassed," Chloe said carefully. "The one who insulted me. Did that cost you?" "He was Chairman Park, shipping magnate. We did 40 million in annual business." "Did?" Past tense. "I terminated the relationship." "Because of what he said about me?" "Because of what he said in my house about someone under my protection. The subject being you was incidental." It wasn't incidental. They both knew it. But he wasn't going to say it directly. This was as close to an apology or acknowledgement as she'd get. "Thank you," she said quietly. "Don't thank me. I didn't do it for—" The door burst open. 3 men rushed in, moving fast. Professional. Dark clothing. Weapons drawn. Chloe's breath stopped. The lead man, 30s, European features, swept the room with his gun. One of his men moved to cover the door they'd entered through. The third moved toward the windows, checking angles. "Kwon." The lead man's voice was accented. Russian. "Don't move." Jae-hyun's hands were already moving, not up in surrender, but toward his jacket. "Slowly," the Russian said, gun aimed at Jae-hyun's center mass. "2 fingers. Put it on the table." Jae-hyun slowly pulled a handgun from inside his jacket, set it on the table, out of reach. The Russian smiled. "Good. Dmitri, by the way. We haven't been formally introduced." "You're already dead. You just don't know it yet." Big words for a man with a gun on him. Dmitri gestured to his men. "Yuri, secure the exits. Anton, the girl." The man by the door, Yuri, moved to check the other entrance to the dining room. The third man, Anton, began moving around the table toward Chloe. Jae-hyun didn't move, but his eyes tracked every position, every angle. 3 armed men against 1 unarmed businessman, Dmitri said. "The math is simple, Kwon. You cooperate, you live, you resist." He shrugged. "Well, what do you want?" "My employer wants access to your shipping routes through Busan. 40% stake. Very reasonable. Tell your employer to try legal channels." "We did. You ignored us. So we're negotiating differently now." Dimitri's eyes flicked to Chloe. "Interesting dinner companion. American. She doesn't look like your usual type." Anton was 3 feet from Chloe now, close enough to grab her. "She's staff," Jae-hyun said. "Irrelevant to your business." "Then you won't mind if Anton ensures she stays quiet during our discussion." Dmitri nodded. Anton moved behind Chloe's chair. She felt cold metal press against the back of her neck. A gun. Her heart stopped. "Now then," Dmitri said. "About those shipping routes." Jae-hyun moved. Not toward his gun on the table. That was too far. Too obvious. He grabbed his wine glass and threw it. Not at Dmitri. At the candelabra on the table. The glass shattered against the metal. Flames jumped. Hot wax sprayed. Everyone flinched, eyes snapping to the fire, to the sudden movement. In that half-second of distraction, Jae-hyun moved. He didn't go for his gun. He went low, grabbed the edge of the heavy dining table and flipped it. 200 pounds of mahogany and marble crashing toward Dmitri. Dmitri stumbled back. His gun went off, bullet slamming into the upturned table instead of flesh. Jae-hyun was already moving. He rolled, came up with his gun from where it had fallen. But Yuri was faster than expected. He had his weapon up, aimed. "Chloe!" Jae-hyun's voice cut through the chaos. "Knife, right side of your plate. Now." Anton behind her was distracted, looking at the fight. Gun pulled away from her neck as he tried to track the movement. Chloe's hand found the knife. She didn't think. Just moved, spun in her chair and brought the blade up, pressed it against Anton's throat. Anton froze. Everyone froze. Jae-hyun had his gun aimed at Dmitri. Dmitri had his gun aimed at Jae-hyun. Yuri had his gun aimed at Jae-hyun. And Chloe had a knife at Anton's throat. Mexican standoff. "New math," Jae-hyun said, his voice steady despite the adrenaline. "You shoot me. Yuri shoots me. I still get one shot off before I go down. That shot goes into Dmitri. Meanwhile, my chef panics and cuts Anton's throat. You win, but you lose 2 men, including your boss. That acceptable to you?" Dmitri's jaw clenched. His gun didn't waver. "She won't do it. Look at her hands shaking." "Shaking hands are more dangerous. One wrong move from you and she might slip." Jae-hyun's gun stayed aimed at Dmitri's chest. "And even if she doesn't, even if I die right now, my security team is already on the way. You breached alarms when you came through that door. You have maybe 90 seconds before 20 armed men surround this room." Bluffing. Test it. The silence stretched, tense, calculating. Dmitri's eyes moved between the scenarios. 2 guns on Jae-hyun, but Jae-hyun's gun on him. Anton with a knife to his throat. Time running out. Anton spoke suddenly. Mandarin, fast, desperate. "求求呢, 我有孩子, 2个女儿, please 不要杀我. Please, I have children, 2 daughters, don't kill me." Chloe understood enough to know what he was saying. Her stomach turned. Her hands shook harder. Dmitri saw it. She's going to drop that knife. Any second. Maybe, but not in the next 90 seconds. Are you willing to bet your life on that? Jae-hyun's gun didn't move. "Because my security just reached the outer corridor. In about 60 seconds, you're surrounded. You can shoot me, but you'll die here, all 3 of you." As if on cue, shouts echoed from somewhere in the house. Korean. Multiple voices. Getting closer. Dmitri's face tightened. "This isn't over, Kwon." "I didn't think it would be." "Lower the gun. You first." A beat. Then Dmitri lowered his weapon. "Yuri, down." Yuri lowered his gun reluctantly. Jae-hyun lowered his, slightly. Still ready. "Anton." "Slowly," Dmitri said. Anton backed away from Chloe carefully, hands visible, eyes on the knife. She kept it raised until he was across the room. The 3 men moved toward the door they'd entered through. Dmitri paused at the threshold. His eyes slid to Chloe one last time. Assessing. Then back to Jae-hyun. "Interesting choice, Kwon. Using the help as leverage." A smile spread across his face. Ugly. Knowing. "Makes me wonder what else she's useful for." "You're leaving. Keep wondering." "Pretty thing. Hope she's worth whatever comes next." Dimitri's smile widened. My employer will be very interested to hear about her. Then they were gone. Footsteps running away. A window breaking somewhere. Exit route. Jae-hyun's security team burst through both doors seconds later. 6 men. Armed. Searching. Clear the house. Jae-hyun ordered in Korean. They breached through the east window. Track them but don't engage. I want to know where they go. The men dispersed. Only then did Jae-hyun lower his gun completely. He turned to Chloe. She was still holding the knife. Still standing, shaking so hard she could barely breathe. He walked over slowly, gently took the knife from her grip. It's over. You can let go now. Her fingers unclenched. Her legs gave out. Jae-hyun caught her before she hit the floor, his hands on her shoulders, steadying her. Breathe. In through your nose, out through your mouth. She tried. It came out as a sob. What the fuck was that? The words burst out of her. What the fuck just happened? That was a business disagreement. Business disagreements don't involve guns. Mine do. She stared at him. He was completely calm, like men with weapons threatening to kill him was just another Tuesday. Like he hadn't just flipped a table and orchestrated a standoff while outgunned 3-1. Who are you? He studied her for a long moment, then pulled out his phone and made a call, speaking rapid Korean. When he hung up, he gestured to a chair that hadn't been destroyed. Sit. I don't want to... Sit. She sat, mostly because her legs were still shaking. He remained standing, gun still in his hand but lowered, watching her. My name is Jae-hyun Kwon. I run one of the largest criminal organizations in East Asia. Shipping, acquisitions, territory management, problem solving for clients who can't use legal channels. The words should have shocked her. Instead, they explained everything. The secrecy, the NDAs, the fortress of a house, the cameras, the fact that he needed a chef who had nothing to lose and nowhere to run. I'm working for a criminal, she said numbly. Yes. You could have told me that before I flew across the world. Would you have come if I had? She wanted to say no, but they both knew the answer was yes. She'd been desperate enough to take any way out. What did those men want? Territory, access, things I'm not willing to give. Why did they come here? Why now? That's not your concern. Not my... Chloe's voice rose. I just held a knife to a man's throat because you told me to. That makes it my concern. No, it makes you someone who followed instructions during a crisis. That's all. That's all? 3 men with guns burst into your house. My security is being handled. You're safe. That's what matters. What matters is why they came. What they wanted. What that man meant when he said... She stopped. Tried to control her breathing. What did he mean when he said I was useful? Nothing important. Stop lying to me. I'm not lying. I'm choosing what information you need. Right now, you need to know you're safe. Everything else is irrelevant. Chloe wanted to scream. You used me. You made me part of whatever that was. I deserve to know why. You deserve to be alive. Which you are. Because you did exactly what I told you to do. He moved toward the door. Get some rest. Tomorrow, don't. She stood too, fury overriding fear. Don't you dare tell me to go make breakfast like this didn't happen. Like I didn't just... Her voice broke. I'm leaving. Tonight. I don't care about the contract. I don't care about the money. I'm done. Where will you go? Anywhere that isn't here. With what money? You've been here 6 weeks. Your first payment doesn't process until the end of the month. And the $25,000 I paid off your credit cards? That becomes a loan if you break contract. 20% interest. You'll owe me $30,000 within a year. The trap closed around her. You can't keep me here against my will. I'm not keeping you. You're free to leave anytime. He moved toward the door. But the moment you step outside this house, you're no longer under my protection. And after tonight, after Dimitri saw you, after he reported back to whoever hired him, you're not safe anywhere I'm not. What does that mean? It means you're involved now. Whether you understand how or why doesn't change that fact. He paused at the door. Stay. Let me handle this. Or leave and find out what happens to people caught between organizations they don't understand. That's not a choice. That's a threat. That's reality. You just don't like it. He opened the door. Breakfast, 7 a.m. Don't be late. He left. Chloe stood alone in the destroyed dining room, surrounded by the overturned table, shattered glass, spilled wine, and evidence of violence. Fury warred with fear. She wanted to run, wanted to scream, wanted to throw something. But underneath it all was a cold, terrible certainty. He was right. She had nowhere to go, no money to get there. And now, somehow, she was part of something she didn't understand. She'd held a knife to a man's throat. And tomorrow she was expected to make breakfast like nothing had happened. She started laughing. It came out broken and slightly hysterical, but it was either laugh or cry. And she'd done enough crying in Brooklyn. The next morning, Chloe didn't sleep. She'd spent the night pacing her room, mind spinning through everything that had happened. 3 men with guns, a table flipped, a knife in her hand pressed against someone's throat, and Jae-hyun acting like it was just another Tuesday. At 6:45 a.m., she showered, put on her chef's whites, went downstairs to the kitchen. The dining room had been restored. New table, heavier, more expensive. No evidence of broken glass or spilled wine. No blood, like it never happened. The breakfast menu card sat on the counter. Breakfast, 7 a.m., the same as always. Of course. Chloe made pancakes with shaking hands, scrambled eggs that she had to remake twice because she couldn't focus, turkey bacon that she nearly burned. At exactly 7 a.m., she set the plates on the table and returned to the kitchen. Waited. At 7:30, Soo-jin appeared. The employer says the eggs were overcooked by 30 seconds. The bacon was acceptable. You're dismissed. Back to this. Back to ghost judgments and impossible standards. Like armed men hadn't burst into his dining room. Like she hadn't held a knife to someone's throat. Where is he? Chloe asked. That's not your concern. I need to speak with him. Mr. Kwan will contact you if he wishes to speak. Until then, your job is to cook. Soo-jin's expression was unreadable. Lunch menu is on the counter, 1 p.m. Don't be late. She left with the plates. Chloe stood in the kitchen, fury building. He'd used her, put her in danger, forced her to become part of his violence. And now he was back to critiquing her eggs, 3 days later. Chloe cooked 3 meals a day, each one technically perfect by any normal standard, each one receiving criticism. The soup lacks depth. The fish is underseasoned. The presentation is uninspired. She stopped trying to impress, started following the menus with robotic precision. No creativity, no soul, just execution. If he wanted a machine, she'd be a machine. On day 4, something changed. The dinner menu card was different. Dinner, 8 p.m., my office, bring short rib. Not the dining room, his office. At 8 p.m., she carried the plated meal through corridors she'd rarely explored, up to the 3rd floor, to a door that required fingerprint access. It opened before she could knock. Jae-hyun stood there, still in his work clothes, expensive shirt, sleeves rolled up. He looked tired. Come in. The office was exactly what she'd expected. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seoul's sprawl of lights. Massive desk covered in papers and laptops. Maps on the walls with markings in Korean. Security monitors showing feeds from around the house. Set it there. He gestured to a small table by the window. She set down the tray, turned to leave. Stay. Why? Because I'm telling you to. He moved to the table. Saturday, gestured to the chair across from him. Sit. She sat. He started eating. The silence stretched, oppressive and deliberate. Your cooking has been technically flawless this week, he said after his third bite. Also completely lifeless. Why? You wanted me to follow the menus exactly. That's what I'm doing. I wanted you to cook, not perform culinary autopsy. He set down his fork. What changed? You know what changed. Enlighten me. 3 men with guns, a standoff. You made me hold a knife to someone's throat. Then you disappeared for 3 days, and now you're back to critiquing my eggs like nothing happened. Because nothing happened. An attempted negotiation failed. It was handled. Life continues. That's not nothing. I could have died. But you didn't. Because you followed instructions precisely when it mattered. His eyes didn't leave hers. That's what I need from you. The ability to function under pressure, to adapt, to not fall apart when things get complicated. I'm a chef, not a soldier. In my house, you're whatever I need you to be. That's what you signed up for. He resumed eating. The contract doesn't limit your duties to food preparation. It says you'll fulfill responsibilities as required by your employer. Right now, I require you to stop cooking like you're in mourning and return to the standard you showed in your first 6 weeks. Chloe's hands clenched in her lap. You want passion? After you used me as leverage in your criminal business? I used the resources available to survive a threat. You were a resource. I don't apologize for that. I'm not a resource. I'm a person. You're an employee, and employees do what they're told when situations require it. Or they leave. He gestured to the door. You're free to go anytime. I've said that before. I mean it. Except leaving means debt. Means being unprotected from whatever enemies you've made. You've made sure I can't actually leave. I've made sure you'd be motivated to stay. There's a difference. He finished the short rib, set down his utensils with deliberate precision. This meal is perfect, technically flawless, and completely forgettable. Tomorrow, I want to see what you can do when you're cooking instead of just going through motions. Understood? And if I can't, then we'll both be disappointed, dismissed. She stood, walked to the door. Chloe. She paused, didn't turn around. The man whose throat you held that knife to. Anton. He got on a plane back to Russia 2 days ago. Unharmed. He's with his daughters right now. You didn't hurt him. You saved both our lives by not panicking. That matters. She looked back. Does it? It should. Most people would have frozen. Dropped the knife. Gotten us both killed. You didn't. That's worth acknowledging. Is this your version of a thank you? This is my version of telling you that you're more capable than you think. And I need you to remember that. Because what happened wasn't a one-time occurrence. It was a preview. Of what? Of what life looks like in my world. If you can't handle it, leave now. But if you stay, I need you functional. Not traumatized. Not cooking like a ghost. Functional. He turned back to his work. Dismissed her without another word. Chloe left, walked back to the kitchen on shaking legs, stood at the counter where she'd stood hundreds of times before, and tried to understand how holding a knife to someone's throat had become just another part of her job. 1 week later. The routine continued. Chloe cooked, Jae-hyun ate. Criticism came through Soo-jin, but something had shifted. Security had doubled. More cameras, more guards, new faces she didn't recognize patrolling corridors. Soo-jin had become quieter, more tense, like she was waiting for something. And Jae-hyun had started appearing in the kitchen. Not every day, but often enough that Chloe stopped being startled when she'd turn around and find him sitting at the counter with his laptop. He never explained why, just worked in silence while she cooked. It should have felt invasive. Instead, it felt like being watched by something predatory that had decided, for now, not to strike. "If you have notes on my technique, just say them," Chloe said one afternoon while julienning vegetables. "I don't have notes." "Then why are you here?" "Working." "You have an office for that." "I have 12 offices. I'm choosing to use this one." He didn't look up from his screen. Chloe sliced carrots with more force than necessary. The silence stretched. "The event I hosted," Jae-hyun said suddenly. "The man I embarrassed. Chairman Park. He's filed complaints with 3 different business councils, claiming I acted inappropriately, that I'm unstable. Are you?" "Probably, but that's not relevant." He finally looked up. "His complaints have triggered audits, investigations, people asking questions about my operations. That creates complications." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because those complications exist because I defended you publicly. I want you to understand the cost." Chloe's hand stilled on the knife. "I didn't ask you to do that." "You didn't need to ask. He insulted you in my house. That required a response. A response that's now costing you business." "Yes." "And you're telling me this because I want you to understand that nothing in my world is free. Every action has consequences. Every choice has a cost." His eyes met hers. "You're here because you needed money. I'm dealing with audits because I have standards about how people are treated under my roof. We both pay for our choices." "That's not the same thing." "It's exactly the same thing. You sold your time for money. I bought your time, and now I protect it from people who don't respect it. That's the transaction. That's what we both agreed to." He returned to his laptop. Chloe went back to her vegetables, mind spinning. He'd just told her that defending her had cost him, but he'd done it anyway. And somehow, he'd made it sound like a business decision instead of something human. She didn't know which was more unsettling. 2 weeks after the attack, Chloe set Jae-hyun's dinner on the table at exactly 8 p.m. Braised short rib again. He'd requested it specifically. She turned to leave. "Stay," he said. She paused. "You want me to eat with you?" "No, I want to tell you something." He cut into the meat. "Your mother has been making calls. Your old landlord, former co-workers, the culinary school, asking if anyone has your contact information, if anyone knows how to reach you." Chloe's stomach dropped. "How do you know that?" "I monitor potential security risks. Someone persistently asking for ways to contact you could draw the wrong kind of attention." He took a bite. "You should call her. Find out what she wants. Make it stop." "I don't have to call her just because you tell me to. I'm not telling you to. I'm suggesting it would be wise, before her questions become a problem for both of us." He gestured to the door. "There's a phone in the library. Secure line. Use it if you want. Don't if you don't. Your choice." He returned his attention to his meal. Dismissed. Chloe stood in the library, staring at the phone for 10 minutes before she picked it up. Dialed. Her mother answered on the second ring. "Hello?" "Mom, it's Chloe." Silence. Then, "Chloe? Oh my God. I've been trying to find a way to reach you. Are you okay? Where are you?" "I'm fine. I'm working abroad. Why are you trying to contact me?" "Because no one has your number. That woman who called said you were overseas working, but she wouldn't give me any way to reach you. I tried everyone. Your landlord, your old jobs, the school. No one knew how to contact you. I thought something was wrong. We haven't spoken in 4 years. You didn't need my number before." A pause. Hurt silence. "That's not fair." "It's accurate. Why do you need my number now, Mom?" Another pause. Longer this time. When Eleanor spoke again, her voice had changed. Less concerned. More careful. "I wanted to make sure you were okay. Can a mother want to talk to her daughter?" "Not after 4 years of silence. What do you really want?" A long exhale. Fine. I'm sick, Chloe. Cancer. Ovarian stage 3. I need surgery and the insurance won't cover most of it. I'm looking at $80,000 in bills and I don't have it and you're the only family I have left. There it was. I don't have that kind of money. But you're working now. Overseas, that sounds like a good position. Maybe you could ask for help or get a loan or I wouldn't ask if I wasn't desperate. I'm scared, Chloe. I'm really scared. Chloe closed her eyes. I'll see what I can do. Really? Oh, sweetheart, thank you. Just stop calling people asking for my contact information. Stop trying to find ways to reach me. I'll handle this, but you need to stop looking. I just needed to talk to you. Well, now you have. I'll call you in a few days. She hung up before her mother could say anything else. Stood there for a moment, hands shaking, then went to find Jae-hyun. He was still in the dining room, finishing his meal. She has cancer, Chloe said from the doorway. Needs $80,000 for surgery and treatment. That's why she was calling around trying to get my number. Do you believe her? I don't know. Does it matter? It matters if she's lying. It matters if this is the first of many requests. It matters if helping her creates more problems than it solves. He set down his fork. What do you want to do? I want to help her, even if she might be lying. Even if she only wanted my number because she needs something. Chloe moved into the room. She's my mother. That's sentiment, not logic. I know. Jae-hyun studied her for a long moment. I'll verify her medical records. If she's telling the truth, I'll pay for the treatment. But you'll extend your contract. 2 additional years. No salary during that time. Just labor. That's my offer. Your mother gets her surgery. I get 2 more years of your work, and she signs documents promising never to try to contact you or ask questions about your employment again. Why would you do that? Because distracted chefs make mistakes. If you're worried about your dying mother, you'll be useless to me. If I remove that distraction, you'll cook properly. He stood. I'll have my people verify her story. If it's legitimate, the money transfers by the end of the week. If she's lying, she gets nothing and you learn a valuable lesson about family. You're buying 2 more years of my life to pay for my mother's cancer treatment. I'm ensuring you remain functional as an employee. Your mother's health is incidental to that goal. His expression didn't change. Do we have a deal? Chloe wanted to scream, to refuse, to tell him he couldn't just purchase years of her life like she was a commodity. But Eleanor would die without treatment, and Chloe had nothing else to offer. Deal. Good. Paperwork will be ready in 3 days. 3 days later, Soojin handed Chloe a folder and a contract. Your mother's medical records. Confirmed stage 3 ovarian cancer. Surgery scheduled for next month at Mount Sinai Hospital. She set down the contract extension. 2 years added to your employment term. Mr. Kwan has already transferred $85,000 to the hospital. 80 for treatment, 5 for incidentals. Your mother has been informed you're working abroad under contract and cannot be contacted except through official channels in emergencies. Sign here. Chloe read through the contract this time. Every word. It was exactly what Jae-hyun had said. 2 additional years. No salary. All earnings applied to her mother's medical debt until it was satisfied, then dispersed normally if treatment exceeded initial estimates. She signed. Your mother tried to call this number yesterday. Soojin added. To thank you. The call was blocked per the terms of the agreement. She's been sent written notification that all contact must cease. She'll receive quarterly medical updates so she knows you're alive, but no direct communication is permitted. You're cutting her off completely. Mr. Kwan is ensuring you remain focused on your duties without emotional complications. Soojin's expression was neutral. This is for your benefit as much as his. She left. Chloe sat alone with the contract, with the knowledge that she'd just sold 2 more years of her life, for a mother who'd only wanted her number when she needed money. But Eleanor would live. That had to count for something. Even if the cost was her own freedom. 4 weeks after Dimitri's attack. Life continued. Chloe cooked. Jae-hyun ate. Security remained heightened, but nothing happened. No more attacks, no more threats, just routine. Until one evening when Chloe entered the kitchen to prep dinner and found Jae-hyun already there. Not working, not eating, just sitting in the dark. "Mr. Kwan?" He didn't respond immediately, just sat there, staring at nothing. "The lights are—" "Leave them off." His voice was wrong. Flat, exhausted in a way that went beyond physical tiredness. Chloe moved to the counter, didn't turn on the overhead lights. Just let the ambient glow from the city lights through the windows provide barely enough illumination to see. "Do you want dinner?" she asked. "No." "Then why are you here?" "Because everywhere else is worse right now." The honesty caught her off guard. She started prepping anyway, quietly. Let the familiar rhythm of chopping and measuring fill the silence. After 10 minutes, he spoke again. "Open the Chateau Margaux. Oh, the 2015. That's $3,000 a bottle. I know what it costs. Open it." She retrieved it from the wine cellar, opened it carefully in the dim light, poured 2 glasses even though he'd only asked for one. Set both on the counter. He took one, drank half in a single swallow. "Do you have siblings?" he asked suddenly. "No, only child." "Why?" "Because only children don't understand what it's like." He drank again. "Having someone with your face, your blood. Who knows exactly how you think because you learned from the same father, in the same house under the same rules. Someone who can predict your moves because they'd make the same ones." Chloe had never heard him talk like this. Vulnerable. Unguarded. She picked up the second glass. Didn't drink it. Just held it. "Is this about your father?" she asked carefully. About inheriting the organization?" "No. This is about family being the worst kind of enemy, because they know where to cut to make you bleed the most." He looked up at her, his eyes reflecting the city lights. "My father used to say that. I didn't understand what he meant until it was too late." "Too late for what?" He was quiet for a long moment, drank more wine, refilled his glass. "I had a brother, Jae-min, younger by 2 years. We ran this organization together after our father died. Partners, equal control." He stared at the wine. Then he decided he wanted to change everything, make it softer, less effective, more legitimate. We fought about it for months. It escalated, became personal, became about power instead of principles. Chloe's hands stilled on the counter. "What happened?" "I decided to end the argument permanently." His voice was flat, factual, like he was discussing a business transaction instead of family. "Put him in a car, rigged an accident, made sure there was enough fire that the body would be difficult to identify. Buried him 3 years ago. Closed casket. Very tragic. Everyone mourned appropriately." The kitchen felt colder. "You killed your brother." "I tried to." He laughed bitterly. "Turns out the body in that car wasn't his. He faked his death. Very convincingly. And I believed it for 3 years. 3 years I thought I'd succeeded. 3 years he's been planning, building resources, buying loyalty, waiting." Chloe couldn't breathe. "Your brother is alive?" "Very much so. Found out 2 days ago when my security flagged unusual activity. Financial transactions, property purchases. People who used to work for me suddenly having money they shouldn't have." He finished his second glass. "He's back, in Seoul. And he's been preparing for this moment for 3 years." "Preparing for what?" "For revenge. For taking back what he thinks I stole. For destroying me the way I tried to destroy him." Jae-hyun's hands clenched around the empty glass. And he knows about you, about Dmitri, about everything, which means you're part of whatever he's planning. How would he know about me? Because Dmitri reported to someone, that someone analyzed the information and sold it to the highest bidder. In this world, intelligence is currency. And He finally looked at her directly. You've become very valuable intelligence. I'm just a chef. You're the chef I used as leverage during an armed attack. You're the chef I keep close. The chef I defended publicly at a charity event in front of 200 people, including press. You're the chef who lives in my house, who has access to my private spaces, who I speak to more than anyone else in my organization. His eyes didn't leave hers. You think my brother doesn't notice those things? He's been watching me for 3 years. He knows exactly what they mean. What do they mean? That's not your concern. Your concern is surviving whatever comes next. He stood, swayed slightly, the wine hitting harder than he'd expected. Security increases starting tomorrow. New protocols. You don't leave this house. You don't go near windows without guards present. You tell Soo-jin everywhere you go, everything you do. Follow the rules exactly. Understood? You're locking me down. I'm keeping you alive. He moved toward the door, stopped. My brother is patient, strategic. He won't move until he's certain he'll win. But when he does move, it won't be subtle. It'll be designed to hurt me as much as possible. And the best way to hurt me? He stopped. Is what? He didn't answer. Just left. And Chloe stood in the dark kitchen, 2 wine glasses on the counter, trying to process what she'd just learned. Jae-hyun had tried to murder his own brother. His brother was alive and had been planning revenge for 3 years. And somehow, she, a broke chef from Brooklyn who just wanted to pay off her student loans, had become a central piece in a war between them. A war she didn't understand. A war she hadn't asked to join, but was now trapped in completely. The next morning, everything changed. 4 new guards appeared outside her room. They followed her everywhere. Kitchen, bathroom, back to her room, constantly present. Cameras were installed in corners she'd never noticed before. The few blind spots that had existed were eliminated. Soo-jin appeared with a new phone. Mr. Kwan's direct line. Emergency use only. It's programmed with 1 number. His. If anything feels wrong, anything, you call. Immediately. Define wrong. Anything unusual. Anyone you don't recognize. Any situation that makes you uncomfortable. Don't hesitate. Don't second guess. Just call. Chloe took the phone. Is it really that serious? Soo-jin's expression was grim. Mr. Kwan doesn't overreact. If he's implementing these protocols, it's because he believes the threat is imminent. So yes, it's that serious. 1 week later, and the tension was suffocating. Jae-hyun had stopped appearing in the kitchen, stopped having meals in the dining room. Soo-jin picked up plates and returned them mostly untouched. He was working around the clock. Chloe could see it in the security feeds. Him in his office at all hours, meetings with people she didn't recognize, constant phone calls. He was preparing for something. On day 8, Soo-jin appeared with unusual urgency. Mr. Kwan needs you in his office. Now. What's wrong? Just come. Chloe followed her up to the 3rd floor. The office was crowded. 6 guards she didn't recognize. Jae-hyun at his desk, surrounded by laptops and papers. He looked up when she entered. Close the door. Soo-jin closed it, locked it. Show her, Jae-hyun said to one of the guards. The guard pulled up something on one of the monitors. Security footage. External camera. The timestamp showed 2 hours ago. A man stood at the main gate, just standing there, not trying to enter, not forcing anything. Just standing, looking directly at the camera. The man smiled, waved slightly, like he was greeting an old friend, then walked away. Who is that? Chloe asked. The room was silent. Jae-hyun's jaw was tight. My brother. Chloe looked at the frozen image on screen. At the man who looked like Jae-hyun, but softer somehow. Younger, less sharp. Why did he come here? To announce himself, to let me know he's ready. Jae-hyun stood. Which means the clock starts now. He'll move within the week. Maybe sooner. Move how? I don't know yet, but it'll be designed to hurt. To prove he can reach what I value. To demonstrate that all my security means nothing when he really wants something. His eyes met hers. And right now, he thinks you're what I value most. Why would he think that? Because I've spent 2 months proving it. Publicly defending you. Privately protecting you. Changing my routines to accommodate your security. Turning down business opportunities to stay close to this house. He moved around the desk. To anyone watching, especially to someone who knows me as well as my brother does, those actions say one thing. You matter. Do I? The question hung in the air. Jae-hyun didn't answer immediately. His expression was unreadable. That's not relevant, he said finally. What's relevant is that he believes you do, and that belief makes you the target. He turned to the guards. Doubled patrols. No one in or out without my explicit approval. And someone on Miss Davis at all times. If she's not in my sight, she's in yours. Understood? The guards nodded. Dismissed, except Soo-jin. The guards filed out. When they were gone, Jae-hyun turned to Soo-jin. If anything happens to me, your first priority is getting her to the safe house in Busan. Codes are in the emergency protocol file. You get her there, and you keep her there until you receive direct contact from me or Lee Sang-ho confirming the situation is resolved. Yes, sir. And Soo-jin, if I'm dead and my brother tries to take her, you kill her before you let him have her. Quick, painless. But you don't let him have her alive. Understood? Chloe's blood went cold. What? Understood? Jae-hyun repeated, ignoring her. Understood, Soo-jin said quietly. Good. Dismissed. Soo-jin left. Chloe stared at Jae-hyun. You just ordered her to kill me? I ordered her to ensure you don't become a tool my brother can use to destroy what's left of this organization. There's a difference. No, there's not. You just... My brother is smart, patient, cruel when he needs to be. If he gets his hands on you, he'll use you for leverage. He'll hurt you in ways designed to make me break. He'll keep you alive just long enough to extract maximum damage. Then he'll kill you anyway. Jae-hyun's voice was flat, factual. A quick death from Soo-jin is mercy compared to what he'd do. I'm giving you the better option. The better option is not dying at all. That's not guaranteed. This is. He moved back to his desk. You should return to your room. Dinner will be brought to you tonight. Stay there until I send for you. You can't just... I can. And I am. Go, Chloe, before I have you escorted. She wanted to scream, to fight, to refuse. But the look in his eyes said he wasn't bluffing. She left, returned to her room with guards flanking her. Sat on her bed, mind reeling. Jae-hyun's brother was alive. Was coming for them. Was going to use her somehow. And Jae-hyun had just given orders to have her killed rather than let that happen. She should have been terrified. Should have been planning escape. Instead, she was trying to understand something else. The way Jae-hyun had looked when he'd said, "You matter." The way his expression had shifted when she'd asked, "Do I?" The way he'd avoided answering directly. Because if she didn't matter, if she was really just an employee, just a resource, just a controlled variable, he wouldn't need to give orders about what to do with her body if he died. He'd just let her become someone else's problem. But he hadn't. He'd made contingencies, created protocols, given specific instructions about her safety, even in his absence. That wasn't how you treated an employee. That was how you treated something you couldn't afford to lose. even if you'd never admit it out loud. 3 days after the gate incident, the house felt like a tomb. Guards everywhere. Silence. Everyone moving with tense precision like they were waiting for an explosion. Chloe cooked 3 meals a day for a man she rarely saw. Jae-hyun had essentially disappeared into his office. Soo-jin reported that he was sleeping maybe 2 hours a night, coordinating with people across the city, preparing for something. On the morning of day 4, everything changed. Chloe was prepping breakfast when the kitchen door opened. Not Soo-jin. Jae-hyun. He looked terrible. Dark circles under his eyes, clothes wrinkled, but his expression was focused, sharp. "Change of plans," he said. "You're coming with me today." "Where?" "Business meeting. Central Seoul. High-rise, very public. Very visible." "Why do you need me at a business meeting?" "Because my brother is watching, waiting for me to make a mistake, to leave you unprotected, to create an opening." He leaned against the counter. "I'm not giving him that opening. Where I go, you go. Starting now." "That's insane. I'll just be in the way." "You'll be where I can see you. That's what matters." He checked his watch. "We leave in 30 minutes. Wear something professional. Soo-jin has clothes for you." He left before she could argue. 1 hour later. The car was armored. Chloe could tell by the way the doors closed. Heavy, solid, like a vault. Jae-hyun sat beside her in the back. 3 security vehicles surrounded them. The route changed twice. Sudden turns, doubling back. "Is this really necessary?" Chloe asked. "Yes." They arrived at a high-rise in Gangnam. Sleek. Expensive. The kind of building where the elevator required a key card just to access certain floors. They went to the 45th floor. Conference room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. 6 men were already there, all Korean, all wearing expensive suits, all looking at Chloe with barely concealed curiosity when she entered. "Gentlemen," Jae-hyun said in English. For her benefit, she realized. "This is Miss Davis. She'll be observing today's discussion. Treat her presence as you would mine." He gestured for her to sit in a chair against the wall. Out of the way, but visible. The meeting began. It was conducted mostly in Korean. Chloe understood maybe 1 word in 10, but she could read the body language. The tension. The way these men deferred to Jae-hyun even when they disagreed. The meeting lasted 2 hours. When it ended and the men filed out, one of them, older, distinguished, paused by Chloe's chair. "You're the chef," he said in English. His accent was thick but understandable. "The one from the charity event. The one Kwon embarrassed Chairman Park over." "Yes." "Interesting." He looked at Jae-hyun, who was gathering papers. "Very interesting that she's here. At a meeting about territory disputes and shipping contracts? One might wonder why." "One might mind their own business," Jae-hyun said without looking up. The man smiled, left. When the room was empty, Chloe stood. "What was that about?" "That was Park's business partner. Seeing you here confirms what everyone suspects. That you matter to me. That you're not just staff." He finished packing his briefcase, which is exactly what I wanted him to see. "Why?" "Because information travels fast in this world. By tonight, 12 people will know you were at this meeting. By tomorrow, 50. Within a week, everyone who matters will know that wherever I go, you go. That you're under my direct protection at all times. That makes me a bigger target. It makes you untouchable. Because taking you means going through me directly. Not my security. Not my guards. Me." His eyes met hers. "My brother is smart. He won't risk a direct confrontation until he's certain he'll win. So making you inseparable from me buys us time." "Time for what?" "Time for me to find him first." 1 week later. The new routine continued. Chloe went everywhere with Jae-hyun. Business meetings, property inspections. The late-night negotiations in restaurants that closed their doors when his car pulled up. She sat in corners, watched, learned. Learned that his world was all shadows and implications. Nothing said directly. Everything communicated through subtext and silence. Learned that men twice his age were afraid of him. Not obviously, but in the way they agreed too quickly. Laughed too readily at things that weren't funny. Avoided contradicting him. Learned that he commanded rooms without raising his voice. Without threats. Just with presence. And she learned something else. He was always aware of where she was. Even when he seemed focused on business, part of his attention tracked her location. If she shifted in her seat, his eyes would flick toward her for a fraction of a second. If someone moved too close to her, his body language would shift, subtle but definite. It should have felt suffocating. Instead, it felt almost protective. On day 8 of the new routine, they returned home late, past midnight. Chloe was exhausted. "Get some rest," Jae-hyun said as they entered the house. "Tomorrow we have—" His phone rang. The personal one he kept on him at all times. He answered, listened. His expression went very still. "When?" A pause. "How many?" Another pause. "Lock it down. I'm on my way." He hung up, turned to his head of security. "Lee, take her to the safe room, now." "What's happening?" Chloe asked. "My brother made a move, not at us. At one of my warehouses, he's making noise, drawing attention." Jae-hyun was already moving toward the door. "I need to handle it." "Then I'm coming with you." "No, this is exactly what he wants. Me distracted, rushing into a situation. You stay here where it's secure." "You said where you go, I go." That was before he forced my hand. "Lee, safe room. That's an order." Lee grabbed her arm, firmly but not rough, started pulling her toward the corridor. "Jae-hyun." He looked back, just for a second. "I'll be back in 3 hours. Stay put. Don't do anything stupid." Then he was gone, out the door with half his security team. Lee pulled Chloe through the house to the safe room, the same concrete box she'd been in twice before. "I'm sorry, Miss Davis," he said as he guided her inside. "Orders." The door closed, locked. Chloe stood in the small room, heart pounding. This was it. This was the move Jae-hyun had been waiting for. And she was locked in a box while it happened. 2 hours later, the lock clicked. The door opened. Not Lee, not Jae-hyun, or Soo-jin. But something was wrong. Her expression was off, strained. "Come with me," Soo-jin said. "Where's Jae-hyun?" "He sent me to get you. There's been a complication. We need to move you to the secondary location." "What kind of complication?" "I'll explain on the way. We need to move, now." Every instinct Chloe had screamed wrong. "No." "Miss Davis, Jae-hyun said 3 hours. It's only been 2. He said to stay put. I'm staying put." Soo-jin's expression shifted. Less concerned. More calculated. "He also said if something happened to him, my orders were to get you to safety. Something happened. So I'm following orders. Now move." "What happened to him?" "He walked into a trap. He's pinned down. Outnumbered. He sent word to evacuate you before they can get here." "How did he send word if he's pinned down?" Soo-jin's hand moved to her pocket. When it came back out, there was a gun, pointed at Chloe. "I really hoped you'd just come quietly," Soo-jin said. "Would have been easier for both of us." Chloe's blood went cold. "You're working for him, for Jae-min. For 3 years, since before you arrived, since before Jae-hyun even knew his brother was alive." Soo-jin's expression was almost apologetic. "I'm sorry. You seem nice. But you're the key to everything, and I'm getting paid very well to deliver you." "Jae-hyun will kill you." "Jae-hyun is busy fighting for his life in a warehouse across the city. By the time he realizes what's happened, you'll be long gone. Now move. I don't want to hurt you, but I will if I have to. Chloe's mind raced. On the phone, the emergency phone Jae-hyun had given her. It was in her pocket. Okay, she said. I'll come. Just don't shoot me. Smart girl, let's go. Soo-jin gestured with the gun. Chloe moved toward the door. As she passed the threshold, she stumbled slightly. Her hand went to her pocket. Felt the phone. Found the button. Pressed it. Prayed Jae-hyun had it set to auto-answer. Soo-jin grabbed her arm. Stop stalling. Walk. They moved through corridors, not toward the main entrance, toward the service exit, a route that avoided most of the camera coverage. A van was waiting outside, back doors open. A man stood beside it. Korean, late 20s. He smiled when he saw them. This is her? This is her, Soo-jin confirmed. Let's move. We have maybe 15 minutes before someone realizes I'm not where I'm supposed to be. The man grabbed Chloe, started pulling her toward the van. She fought, twisted, screamed. A hand clamped over her mouth. She bit down hard, tasted blood. The man swore, hit her, not hard enough to knock her out, but hard enough to make her vision blur. They shoved her into the van, slammed the doors. The engine started. They drove. Chloe's head was spinning, blood in her mouth, fear making it hard to breathe. But the phone was still in her pocket, still connected, still transmitting. She had to trust that Jae-hyun was listening, that he'd heard enough to know what was happening, that he'd come. Because if he didn't, she didn't want to think about what Jaemin would do when he got his hands on her. 40 minutes later. The van stopped. The doors opened. They pulled Chloe out into what looked like an abandoned building. Industrial, warehouse district. They dragged her through corridors, upstairs, into a room with one window and one door. And sitting in the center of the room, in a chair like he'd been waiting, was a man who looked like Jae-hyun. But not. Softer features, warmer eyes, younger despite being the same age. Jaemin. Chloe Davis, he said, standing. Finally, I've been waiting to meet you properly. The men holding her shoved her forward. She stumbled, caught herself on a support beam. I'd offer you a seat, Jaemin continued, but we won't be here long. Just long enough for my brother to realize where you are, to come rushing in to save you, and to walk into the real trap. He won't come, Chloe said. Her mouth was bleeding. It came out thick. He knows it's a trap. He'll come anyway, because that's who he is. He can't help himself. Jaemin moved closer. Did he tell you what he did to me? How he tried to kill his own brother over a business disagreement? He told me. Did he tell you why? Did he explain that I wanted to make this organization legitimate? To stop the violence? To build something that wouldn't destroy everyone it touched? Jaemin's voice was soft, persuasive. I was trying to save him from himself, and he put me in a car and tried to murder me for it. If you're trying to make me feel sorry for you, it's not working. I don't want your sympathy. I want you to understand that my brother is a monster. That everything he's done, keeping you here, controlling you, using you, it's all about power, about possession. He doesn't care about you as a person, or you're just another thing he owns. And what are you doing right now? Kidnapping me to use against him? That's so much better. Jaemin smiled. Fair point, but at least I'm honest about it. I'm not pretending this is for your protection. I'm not dressing up possession as care. Your leverage, pure and simple. And when my brother comes for you, and he will, he'll die for it. And you'll be free. Free to be your prisoner instead of his. Free to leave. I'll put you on a plane back to America with enough money to start over. All I want is my brother dead and my organization back. You're the tool that makes that happen. But once it's done, you're irrelevant to me. Chloe laughed. It came out bitter. You really think I believe you'll just let me go? After I've seen your face? Heard your plans? I don't care if you believe me. It's the truth. Unlike my brother, I don't collect things. I don't need to own people to feel powerful. He checked his watch. He should be realizing you're gone by now. Should be tracking your phone. Should be on his way. Another 40 minutes, maybe. You're wrong about him, Chloe said. About why he kept me close. Am I? Then enlighten me. Why does a man like Jae-hyun, a man who trusts no one, who treats everyone as expendable, why does he suddenly care about one American chef? I don't know, but he does. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. Jaemin studied her for a long moment. You really don't know, do you? You don't understand what you are to him, what you represent. Then tell me. You're proof he can want something he can't control, that there's something in him that's still human, still capable of attachment. Jaemin's expression softened. That terrifies him, because attachment is weakness, and weakness gets you killed in our world. So he keeps you close, keeps you controlled, keeps you under his power, because if you're his possession, he doesn't have to admit you're his weakness. The words landed like stones. But here's what he doesn't understand. Jaemin continued. Weakness isn't caring about someone. Weakness is being unable to let them go. I'm going to force him to choose. Come save you and walk into my trap. Or let you die and prove he's still the monster I remember. Either way, I win. You're wrong, Chloe said. He'll come. And he won't walk into your trap. We'll see. 20 minutes later. Gunfire, distant, then closer. Jaemin's expression didn't change. Right on time. Even faster than I expected. He gestured to his men. Positions, just like we planned. They moved, taking positions by the door, the windows, creating a killing field. You should know, Jaemin said to Chloe. This room is the only way in. One door, windows too high to reach. When my brother comes through that door, there's nowhere for him to take cover. He'll be exposed, outnumbered 6-1. He'll die in seconds. Then why tell me this? Why not just let it happen? Because I want you to understand that his death is his choice. He chose to come here. Chose you over survival. Chose attachment over strategy. Jaemin moved to the far corner. Safe, out of the line of fire. When he dies, I want you to know it's because of you. Because you made him human. And humans don't survive in our world. The gunfire was getting closer. Voices shouting in Korean. More shots. Then silence. Footsteps in the corridor outside. Jaemin's men raised their weapons, all aimed at the door. Get ready, Jaemin said quietly. The door burst open. Not Jae-hyun. Lee. Jae-hyun's head of security. He came in fast, gun raised. Jaemin's men fired. Lee went down. Hard. But in that moment of distraction, the window exploded inward. Jae-hyun came through from the outside. He'd climbed the fucking building. He rolled. Came up firing. 2 of Jaemin's men went down before they could adjust. Jae-hyun moved like violence was choreography. Every shot precise. Every movement calculated. 3 more men down. The last one ran. Jae-hyun shot him in the back without hesitation. 6 seconds. 6 men. All dead or dying. Jaemin had a gun out now. Aimed at Jae-hyun. But Jae-hyun's gun was aimed at him. Standoff. Brother, Jaemin said. Took you long enough. Let her go. Why? She's the only reason you're not dead right now. The moment I lower this gun, you kill me. The moment you shoot me, she dies anyway. My men are in the building. They'll execute her the moment they hear a shot. You know the protocols. Jaemin's expression flickered. You're bluffing. Am I? Jae-hyun's gun didn't waver. You've been gone 3 years, but you still know me. You know I don't bluff. You know that if I'm going to die, I make sure what I care about dies too, so it can't be used against me. You'd really rather have her dead than let me have her? Every time. The brothers stared at each other, guns raised, neither willing to lower first. This is insane, Chloe said. Both of them looked at her. You're both insane, she continued. Fighting over me like I'm property, like I don't get a say in any of this. You don't, Jae-hyun said flatly. Actually, I do. She looked at Jae-min. You said if I helped you, you'd let me go. Give me a plane ticket and money, and I'd be free. I did say that. Then I'll help you. Right now. I'll testify about everything I've seen. Everything Jae-hyun's done. I'll be your witness, your proof. Whatever you need. Just let me leave after. Jae-hyun's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes went dark. Chloe, don't. Why not? You've made it clear I'm just a possession. Just something you control. Just leverage. Why shouldn't I take the deal that gets me out of this? Because he's lying. The moment you're no use to him, you're dead. You mean like the moment I'm no use to you? She met his eyes. At least he's offering me a choice. You never did. You're making a mistake. Maybe, but it's my mistake to make. She moved toward Jae-min, slowly, hands visible. Jae-hyun's gun tracked her movement but didn't fire. Chloe, he said quietly, don't do this. Give me a reason not to. One real reason. Not that I'm useful. Not that I'm valuable leverage. Tell me one real reason I should stay. The silence stretched. Jae-hyun's face was stone, but his finger on the trigger was trembling. I can't, he said finally. Then I'm leaving. She reached Jae-min's side. Jae-min smiled. Smart choice. He started backing toward the door, keeping his gun on Jae-hyun. Stay there, brother. Don't follow. Or I kill her and you get nothing. They backed toward the corridor. Almost there. Then Chloe grabbed Jae-min's gun hand, twisted hard. Used every ounce of strength to wrench it away from Jae-hyun. Jae-min's shot went wide. Jae-hyun fired. Jae-min went down, shot in the shoulder. Not fatal. Disabling. Chloe kicked his gun away. Jae-hyun crossed the room in 3 strides, grabbed her, checked her for injuries. Are you hurt? No. Soo-jin? Working for him. She's the one who got me out. I know. I heard everything through the phone. He released her, turned to his brother on the floor. You trained her well, Jae-min. 3 years of planning, and you made one mistake. You assumed she'd choose freedom over loyalty. She doesn't owe you loyalty. Jae-min gasped, blood spreading across his shirt. You've done nothing but control her. I kept her alive. I kept her safe. I kept her functional when your people tried to take her. Jae-hyun crouched, put his gun against Jae-min's head. You want to know why she chose me? Because I'm honest. I never lied about what I am. Never pretended to be her savior. Just told her the truth and let her decide. And she decided you were the greater evil. She decided you were the devil she knew. Jae-min corrected. That's not loyalty. That's survival. In our world, they're the same thing. Jae-hyun stood, gestured to guards who'd appeared in the doorway. Take him. Medical wing. Patch him up. Then maximum security. He doesn't see anyone, doesn't speak to anyone, is that clear? Yes, sir. They dragged Jae-min away. Jae-hyun turned back to Chloe. Leah's dead. 3 more of my men. Soo-jin killed 2 guards to get you out. This is the cost of tonight. Are you satisfied? No. Good. Neither am I. He moved toward the door. Let's go home. Wait. Chloe didn't move. You didn't answer my question. What question? I asked you to give me one real reason to stay. You said you couldn't. Was that true? Jae-hyun stopped. Didn't turn around. Does it matter? You're still here. It matters to me. The silence stretched. I couldn't answer, he said finally, because any answer I gave would have been a lie. The truth is more complicated than one reason. More complicated than I know how to explain. Try. He turned, looked at her with an expression she'd never seen before. Vulnerable, almost helpless. You're not leverage. You're not possession. You're not a controlled variable or a weakness or any of the things I've told myself to make this make sense. He moved closer. You're the first thing in 15 years I've wanted that I couldn't justify with logic. And the first person I've protected not because they were useful, but because the alternative was unacceptable. You're the thing that keeps me human when every other part of my life makes me a monster. That's not love. I know, but it's what I have. And it's more than I've ever given anyone. His hand came up, almost touched her face. Dropped. Is it enough? Chloe stared at him. At this man who'd kidnapped her, controlled her, used her. This man who'd also defended her, protected her, given her mother cancer treatment without hesitation. This man who'd just come through a window and killed 6 men to get her back. I don't know, she said honestly, but it's a start. Something cracked in his expression. Relief? Gratitude? Something too raw to name. Then we start there, he said, and figure out the rest as we go. 2 weeks later, the fallout was brutal. Soo-jin was dead. Had taken poison the moment she realized Chloe had betrayed Jae-min instead of escaping. Died before they could interrogate her properly. Jae-min was in a maximum security cell in the basement, medical wing keeping him alive. Jae-hyun visited him once, came back looking hollowed out. What did you say to him? Chloe asked. That I won. That he'd spend the rest of his life in that cell. That the organization he tried to take back would never be his. Jae-hyun poured whiskey, drank. He said I'd already lost, that keeping you turned me into exactly what he wanted me to be. Someone who cares. Someone vulnerable. Someone who's no longer the monster our father created. Is he right? Probably. But I'd rather be vulnerable with you than invincible alone. He looked at her. That's new for me, in case you couldn't tell. Security was being rebuilt, guards replaced, protocols updated. The house felt different now. Less like a fortress, more like a home that happened to have excessive security. And Chloe's role had changed. She still cooked, but Jae-hyun had stopped pretending she was just staff. She attended meetings, sat beside him instead of in corners. He introduced her as his partner, not in business, just partner. People understood what that meant. On the 14th day after the warehouse, Jae-hyun appeared in the kitchen while she was making dinner. We have a problem, he said. Chloe's heart sank. What kind of problem? The kind where my Seoul operations need my presence, full-time, for at least 6 months. Maybe longer. Okay? Which means you either stay here under heavy guard while I'm gone most days and nights, or... He paused. Or you come with me, fully integrated into the operation, not just as the chef, as someone who understands the business, who can handle negotiations when I'm not available, who becomes part of the leadership structure instead of adjacent to it. You're offering me a promotion? I'm offering you a choice. Stay in the kitchen where it's safe. Or step into the world I live in and learn how it really works. Why would you want me to do that? Because you're smart. Because you see things I miss. Because having someone I trust, actually trust at my side instead of in my shadow makes me more effective. His eyes met hers. Because I'm tired of pretending you're just someone I employ when we both know you're more than that. What am I? I don't have a word for it yet. But it's more than employee, more than companion, more than, he struggled, more than I know how to define. But I want you there, if you're willing. Chloe thought about it. About 6 weeks ago when she'd been desperate and broke and alone in Brooklyn. About how she'd come here expecting a job and found something more complicated. About how she'd held a knife to a man's throat. How she'd been kidnapped. How she'd made a choice to stay when she could have run. About how this terrifying, brutal man had become someone she trusted more than anyone else in her life. I have conditions, she said. Name them. I want real training, not just cooking. Business, strategy, how your world actually works. I want to understand what I'm stepping into. Done. I want my contract renegotiated. If I'm going to be part of your leadership structure, I want to be compensated accordingly. And I want the 2 years I owe you for my mother's treatment waived. Agreed. What else? I want honesty. Complete honesty. No more withholding information for my protection. If I'm in this, I'm in all the way. Agreed. And, she hesitated. And I want to visit my mother. Once. Before she has surgery. To say goodbye. Or hello. Or whatever we need to say to each other. Jae-hyun was quiet for a moment. That creates security risks. I know. But I need it anyway. Then we'll make it work. Controlled circumstances. Heavy security. But yes, you can see her. Chloe hadn't expected him to agree to that one. Really? You just helped me take down a coup. Saved my life. Chose me over freedom. His hand found hers on the counter. I think I can manage a supervised visit to New York. His touch was warm, certain. She didn't pull away. Okay then, she said. I'm in. Good, because there's one more thing we need to discuss. What? He pulled out a folder, set it on the counter. Your contract. New terms. Read it carefully. Make sure you understand what you're agreeing to. Chloe opened it. The salary made her eyes widen. 10 times what she'd been making. Plus benefits. Plus bonuses tied to operational success. But it was the last clause that made her stop. Employee may terminate this agreement at any time with 30 days' notice. Employer waives all previous debt obligations and will provide departure assistance, including new identity and relocation funds if requested. She looked up. This gives me an out. A real one. Yes. Why? Because I don't want you here because you're trapped. I want you here because you choose to be. Every day. His eyes were intense. This is me proving that you're not a prisoner. That you can leave if you want. And if you stay, it's because you want to. Not because you have to. That's... Chloe's voice caught. That's not a business decision. No, it's not. He moved closer. It's what you asked for. Honesty. Truth. A real choice. So here it is. Stay if you want. Leave if you want. Either way, you're not trapped anymore. Chloe stared at the contract. At the clause that gave her freedom. At the man who'd just given her the one thing she'd wanted since arriving. The ability to choose. She picked up the pen. Signed. I'm staying, she said. Not because I'm trapped. Not because I owe you, but because I want to. Because this, whatever this is, it's something I've never had before. What is it? Home. Terrifying, violent, complicated home. But home nonetheless. Jae-hyun's expression cracked. Relief. Gratitude. Something that looked almost like joy. He pulled her against him. Held her. Just held her. Thank you, he said quietly into her hair. For what? For choosing me. When you had every reason not to. You made it easy. You were honest. That's all I ever wanted. They stood in the kitchen, where they'd first had dinner, where she'd cooked 1,000 meals, where everything had started. And for the first time since arriving in Seoul, Chloe felt like she could breathe. She was free. And she'd chosen to stay. That made all the difference. 3 months later, the beginning. Chloe Davis stared at the silver knife in her hand, but she wasn't using it to prep dinner. She was holding it to the throat of Jae-hyun, the most feared mafia leader in Asia. 10 minutes ago, she was a prisoner in his high-rise kitchen. Now, she was the only thing standing between the king and a coup. But as Jae-hyun leaned into the cold steel of the blade, a terrifying smile spread across his lips. Chloe realized the rumors were true. The king did not fear death. He only feared losing the woman he had spent millions to cage. 10 minutes earlier, the coup came at dawn, not from outside, from inside. 5 of Jae-hyun's senior lieutenants, all trusted for years, all turned by someone with deep pockets and detailed knowledge of the organization. They'd planned it perfectly, disabled key security systems, blocked reinforcements, cornered Jae-hyun in his office with Chloe in the kitchen 2 floors down. She'd been making breakfast when she heard the gunfire. Close. Too close. She'd grabbed her phone, the emergency line. Jae-hyun had answered immediately. "Stay in the kitchen. Lock the door. Don't come out." "What's happening?" "Coup. 5 men. I can handle..." The line went dead. Chloe stood frozen for exactly 3 seconds. Then she moved, grabbed the knife she'd been using to prep vegetables, the one Jae-hyun had given her 3 months ago with the instructions. "Learn to use this. You might need it someday." She'd thought he was being paranoid. He'd been preparing her. She ran through corridors, past bodies, guards who'd been loyal, guards who'd been bought. Reached Jae-hyun's office. The door was open. Inside, chaos. Jae-hyun was down. Not dead, but pinned. Blood on his shirt. Gun across the room, too far to reach. 5 men surrounding him. The leader, Lieutenant Kang, had a gun to Jae-hyun's head. "It's over, Kwon. Your brother sends his regards from his cell. Turns out he had insurance policies you didn't know about. People loyal to him. Money hidden away. All waiting for the right moment." Kang smiled. "This is that moment. You can surrender and live in exile, or resist and die. Your choice." "Exile isn't living," Jae-hyun said. Blood dripped from his mouth. "Kill me or don't, but I'm not leaving." "Stubborn to the end. That's what lost you everything." "He hasn't lost everything." All 6 men turned. Chloe stood in the doorway. Knife in hand, phone in the other, recording. "Miss Davis," Kang said, "this doesn't concern you. Leave. Before you get hurt." "This concerns me more than you know." She raised the phone. "I've been recording for 3 minutes. Everything you've said about Jaemin's money. About the coup. About which guards you bought. Everything." "Delete that." "It's already uploaded. Cloud storage, time-stamped, with instructions to send it to every law enforcement agency in Seoul if I don't check in every hour. You kill me, you kill him, it goes public. Your coup becomes a police matter. Jaemin's cell becomes a prison cell with actual charges. And every person you've bought becomes a liability you can't afford." Kang's expression shifted. Uncertain now. Chloe moved into the room. Slowly. "Or, you lower your weapons. You walk away. You disappear with whatever money you've already been paid. And we pretend this never happened. He'll hunt us down. Not if I tell him not to." She looked at Jae-hyun. "Will you?" Jae-hyun's eyes were on her, calculating, weighing. "If she asks me not to, I won't." "You expect us to believe that?" One of the other men, Park, laughed. "Kwon doesn't negotiate, doesn't forgive. He's going to kill us the moment we lower our guns." "You're right," Chloe said. "He doesn't negotiate, he doesn't forgive, but he listens to me. And right now, I'm telling him that letting you walk away with your lives is worth more than revenge. Because dead men can't spend money, but live men with debt create opportunities." She was bluffing. had no idea if Jae-hyun would actually agree to this. But Kang was wavering. She could see it. "Lower your weapons," she said. "Walk away. Live. And if we don't, then I put this knife to his throat, and I hold it there until your time runs out. Until his reinforcements breach the perimeter. Until you're surrounded and have nothing left to bargain with except your lives." And Jae-hyun doesn't negotiate for his life. He'd rather die. "She's bluffing," Park said. "She won't I?" Chloe crossed the room, moved behind Jae-hyun, put the knife to his throat. Everyone froze. "Lower your weapons," she repeated. "Or I find out if I have the stomach to do what needs to be done." Jae-hyun leaned into the blade, that terrifying smile spreading across his face. "Do it," he said softly. "If you're going to betray me, do it now." "I'm not betraying you, you idiot. I'm saving you." "By holding a knife to my throat?" "By making them think I might actually use it." She pressed just hard enough to draw blood, a thin line across his throat. "By making you vulnerable enough that they believe you'll die if they don't back down. By being the thing you fear losing more than you fear death." His eyes widened slightly. Understanding. "You're insane," he murmured. "I learned from the best." Behind them, Kang was backing toward the door, the others following. Weapons still raised, but backing away. "This isn't over," Kang said. "Yes, it is," Jae-hyun said. His voice was stronger now, more certain. "Because you just realized something. You can kill me, but you can't kill her without me killing all of you first. And she's the one thing I'd burn Seoul down to protect. So your choice is simple. Leave now and live. Or stay and find out exactly how far I'll go when someone threatens her." The 5 men left. Fast, like they'd been released from a trap. When they were gone, Chloe lowered the knife. Jae-hyun touched his throat, looked at the blood on his fingers. "You cut me. I needed it to look real. It was real. I'm bleeding. It's shallow. You'll live." She offered him a hand up. "Can you stand?" He took her hand, stood, swayed slightly. "I'm shot. Left side. Not serious, but not great. Let me see. Later. Right now we need to secure the building. Find out who else was compromised. Make sure—" "Shut up." She pressed her hand against his wound, applied pressure. "You're bleeding. You're going to medical. Now." "I don't take orders." "You do from me. That's what you said. That you listen to me. So listen. Medical. Now. Or I tell your entire organization their boss nearly died because he was too stubborn to see a doctor." He stared at her, then laughed. Actually laughed. "You held a knife to my throat. I saved your life." "Same thing." His hand covered hers on his wound. "Thank you." "For what?" "For choosing to save me, when running would have been easier." "Running is always easier. Staying is harder. But it's what you do when you—" She stopped. "When you what?" She met his eyes. "When you're exactly where you're supposed to be." The words hung between them. "Even when where you're supposed to be is chaos?" he asked. "Especially then." He pulled her closer, kissed her, tasted like blood and smoke and something that felt almost like coming home. When he pulled back, he said, "You're the most dangerous thing that's ever happened to me." "I know. Someone needs to keep the King of Seoul from getting too comfortable." "Stay." "I already did. I signed your contract, remember? With the clause that lets me leave anytime I want." "Then sign a new one that says you'll stay. Not because you're trapped. Not because you're paid, but because you want to." "What kind of contract is that?" "The kind that matters. The kind that's not about money or obligation. Just choice every day. Choosing to be here. Choosing me." Chloe looked at this man. This terrifying, violent, complicated man who'd kidnapped her, controlled her, and somewhere along the way, given her more freedom than she'd ever had. "I don't need a contract for that," she said. "I'm already here. That's the choice, every day." "Then we're agreed. We're agreed." They stood in his destroyed office, surrounded by evidence of betrayal and violence. And Chloe realized something. She'd stopped being a prisoner the moment she'd chosen to stay, stopped being scared the moment she'd chosen to fight, and started being exactly what this brutal, beautiful, dangerous world needed. A woman strong enough to hold a knife to a king's throat to save his life, smart enough to turn vulnerability into power, and brave enough to choose the monster who told the truth over the salvation that promised lies. That made her more dangerous than any enemy he'd ever faced, and exactly the partner he'd never known he needed.